Were tunnels ever built under Loring Air Force Base? The answer to that question is yes and no. 5 New England airfields were constructed or almost wholly rebuilt for the Strategic Air Command (SAC). Immediately after its formation on March 21, 1946, SAC began planning for a force that could strike any target. Part of that plan called for a base at the northeastern tip of the United States. The site chosen was Limestone, Maine. On April 5, 1947, the United States Army issued the initial directive authorizing the construction of Limestone Army Air Base. Because the base had to be built from scratch, the job took 7 years. The Limestone Base was the first and largest of the bases constructed by the New England Division of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Limestone Air Force Base was built in phases. The initial contract called for the construction of a north-south runway with a parallel taxiway and parking apron. Also included in the contract were an arch hangar, base operations building with a 7-story control tower, electric power generating plant, a 250-man permanent barracks, building 6,000, water supply system, and a railroad spur. The initial contract had a completion date of June 30, 1949. The Air Force had established June 15, 1950 as the target date to begin limited operations at Limestone Air Force Base. The decision was in response to the Soviets' recent actions within the Communist bloc and the growing unrest in Korea. Headquarters Strategic Air Command was directed to immediately organize a base detachment to be in place prior to the target date. The detachment was under the command of the 8th Air Force. This detachment was tasked with being capable of refueling and dispatching 6 B-36s on maneuvers. A 7-man team was sent to Limestone to evaluate the base's capability to physically support the detachment and determine the size of the unit needed to conduct the desired mission. The team had found sufficient facilities available to easily support a detachment of 7 officers and 78 airmen. These individuals were drawn from various 8th Air Force units for 60 days of temporary duty. The personnel arrived at Headquarters 8th Air Force, Carswell Air Force Base, Texas, on June 9, 1950 and received briefings about the mission ahead. The next day, a C-97 airlifted them to Limestone Air Force Base, even though the base had not yet been completed. Lieutenant Colonel James R. Willey, of the 509th Bombardment Wing, assumed command of the detachment and accepted custody of those facilities that had been completed. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers retained jurisdiction of the base. The detachment operated on a strict tenant status and ensured that its activities did not interfere with continuing construction. SAC had designated the detachment at Limestone Air Force Base as the 4215th Base Service Squadron and had authorized the permanent assignment of 28 officers, 340 airmen, and 20 civilians. Despite the authorization, the squadron would only have 19 officers and 172 airmen assigned as late as November 1950. The new squadron's mission included organizing and training a force capable of maintaining base facilities and providing logistical support for all aircraft staging through the base. SAC officials now wanted the 4215th to be capable of handling 30 B-36s on a single maneuver. Construction continued at both Limestone Air Force Base and an adjacent site that would eventually become Caribou Air Force Station. All of the buildings had basements with interconnecting underground passages that made it possible to walk to all of them without going outside. This installation was the only one of the 5 operational sites to have this feature. This feature increased efficiency of operations, because it eliminated the hazards of walking through heavy snow and severe weather when passing among these buildings. Airmen housing and mess facilities were adjacent to each other, and within easy walking distances of administrative, service and recreational functions. Several additional barracks were constructed during the early 1950s, as the base was completed. All of the additional barracks and other buildings had basements with interconnecting underground passages that made it possible to walk to all of them without going outside. This map, dated October 1, 1957, identifies the original limestone Air Force Base buildings with basements and interconnecting underground passages. This map, dated 1980, still shows the original limestone Air Force Base buildings with basements and interconnecting underground passages. So, the answer to the question, were tunnels ever built under Loring Air Force Base? No, there were no tunnels built underground at Loring Air Force Base leading to a subterranean city. There were no tunnels that went under the runway. There were no tunnels leading to an underground laboratory containing mutated aliens. However, yes, there were passages constructed under many of the original buildings constructed at Limestone Air Force Base and Caribou Air Force Station. The passageways were used to travel from the barracks buildings to the mess hall and other administrative areas, to avoid exposure to the extreme elements in the region.